Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lollipop and today we're taking a look at some Trek bikes again, and this time I'm doing a comparison video on the differences between the 2020 and 2021 Top Fuel lineup. There are several different models in the Top Fuel range, including aluminum and carbon fiber frame versions, and a lot of them have had updates for 2021, but some of these bikes are even new for 2021, meaning that they were not available in 2020. However, since there are so many of them, I am going to split up the aluminum and carbon fiber bikes into separate videos, so this one will actually only be centered on the aluminum Top Fuel bikes. These include only the Top Fuel 7SX and the Top Fuel 8 models, which have not received any frame geometry changes since 2020. There actually was not a Top Fuel 7 in 2020 either, so instead I will just compare the 2021 Top Fuel 8 with both the 2020 Top Fuel 8 and the Top Fuel 7, and of course I will still be making these tables at the end of the video so you can see all the changes in one place. And if you do want to see other lineup comparisons from Trek or from other brands, I do a lot of those on my channel, including ones on the Fuel EX and Excalibur lines, so check those out if you are interested. And before we get into the actual updates, I am going to give a quick background on what the Top Fuel bikes are intended for. This lineup is another full suspension lineup from Trek, but what differentiates these from the Fuel EX or other lines is that the Top Fuels are a little more oriented for cross-country riding and racing, since they are designed to be lighter in weight, have less suspension travel at 120mm, and have geometry more suited for those XC trails. That being said, they still can do fine as a trail bike, and Trek does state on their website that they should be equally good for XC racing and for single tracks, which makes them a bit more versatile. And with that out of the way, let's get into those 2021 changes. I usually start with the least expensive bikes first, but since the Top Fuel 7 did not have a 2020 model, I am going to start by comparing the Top Fuel 8 bikes with each other. So for 2020, the Top Fuel 8 was priced at $3,300, while the 2021 Top Fuel 8 is priced $100 less at $3,200 or £2,700. The 2021 model also has a slight name change, as Trek is calling it the Top Fuel 8 NX, which hints that there might be a Top Fuel 8 in the future that uses a Shimano drivetrain instead of the SRAM NX Eagle. But besides the price, we do see some changes to the colors. The 2020 bike definitely came in some interesting colors, which were purple phase with Neaster black accents, and matte Trek black with gloss Viper red accents. The 2021 bike replaces both of these colors with satin Trek black, which is a nice stealth color, and Volt with dark aquatic accents. And moving on to the suspension. The front fork is actually the same in both years, and that is the RockShox Recon Gold RL, but the fork offset is different, as it was 46mm in 2020, while it is 42mm in 2021. This basically makes it so the wheel is closer to the frame, allowing for a bit more control of the bike. The rear shock is mainly the same as well, since it is the same shock as 2020, which is the Fox Performance Float shock, but the lockout has just been changed from the twist lock to the Bontrager drop lock, which has a different style for the remote lever, but besides that, they should perform similarly. Next, we have an update to the brakes, which were Shimano hydraulic disc brakes in 2020 that used an MT501 lever with MT500 calipers and Shimano RT56 brake rotors. The 2021 bike uses the SRAM Level T hydraulic disc brakes instead, which have SRAM centerline rotors, though the bikes in both years use a 180mm rotor in the front and a 160mm in the rear. Both of these brakes use 2-piston calipers and should perform similarly in terms of stopping power, though their individual feels will be slightly different going from Shimano to SRAM. And those are actually all the changes for the Top Fuel 8 from 2020 to 2021, besides the weight, which I will cover now. The 2020 bike weighed in at 13.65 kilograms or 30.09 pounds with tubes installed, while the 2021 bike weighs 13.66 kilograms or 30.12 pounds with tubeless sealant installed instead of tubes. This weight difference is pretty negligible, which makes sense since not much has changed in these bikes between the 2 years. But a lot definitely has changed from the Top Fuel 8 to the new Top Fuel 7, so let's see what makes them so different. The Top Fuel 8 in 2021 once again cost $3,200 or 2,700 pounds, while the Top Fuel 7 SX is more affordable at $2,700 or 2,300 pounds. I went over the colors for the Top Fuel 8 already, but the 7 SX model will come in some different ones, which are lithium gray with Trek black accents and factory orange with Trek black accents. Now, I don't tend to give my personal opinions too often in these videos since I want them to be focused on facts, but this bike, in my opinion, is one of the nicest looking bikes out there, at least for a full suspension mountain bike. I just love the lines on it, and the color of this one specifically is just so amazing to me, and I feel like I just had to say that. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the actual component differences. The Top Fuel 7 is intended to be a more affordable entry bike for the Top Fuel series, so it will have some more entry-level components when compared to the 8. The front suspension fork is a RockShox Recon Gold RL in the Top Fuel 8 NX, and a RockShox Judy SL in the Top Fuel 7 SX. Both of these forks are air forks with motion control dampening and a 15mm Maxell Stealth through axle for some added stiffness. They both have tapered steerers and use Boost 110 spacing with a 42mm offset and have 120mm of travel. Therefore, these forks have a lot of similar specifications, but the fork in the 8 uses 32mm stanchions, while the Judy in the 7 has 30mm stanchions, so the 8 should have better dampening on the trail. The rear shock is also different, and while the Top Fuel 8 uses a Fox Performance float shock that has a remote lockout and 2-position dampener, the Top Fuel 7 goes to the X Fusion Pro 2 shock. There isn't too much info on this shock currently, but the Fox Performance in the Top Fuel 8 model will provide some better dampening and plushness on the trail. Both bikes also use a dropper seat post, but the Top Fuel 8 uses a Bontrager line dropper with 150mm of travel, while the Top Fuel 7 uses a Trans X JD dropper post with 130mm of travel. The Bontrager post should just be lighter in weight, operate smoother, and last longer. The brakes are another change, since the Top Fuel 8 uses the SRAM Level T hydraulic disc brakes mentioned before, while the 7 uses Shimano MT200 hydraulic disc brakes, which are Shimano's entry-level hydraulic disc brakes. Both of these brakes still do use 2-piston calipers and have 180mm brake rotors in the front and 160mm in the rear, so they shouldn't be too different. And finally, the main change is to the drivetrain. The Top Fuel 8 NX unsurprisingly uses a SRAM NX Eagle drivetrain, while the Top Fuel 7 SX uses a SRAM SX Eagle drivetrain. Both have very similar components in terms of measurement specifications, so both bikes do come with the SRAM 32-tooth Eagle cranksets and SRAM 11-50-tooth cassettes, but the NX drivetrain will just be lighter and have more durable components that will last longer. The weights of these bikes are definitely different, as the Top Fuel 8 once again weighs 13.66 kilograms or 30.12 pounds, while the 7 weighs 14.17 kilograms or 31.24 pounds. But those are all the current changes to the Trek Top Fuel lineup, at least the aluminum frame models from 2020 to 2021. I'll put up the simplified tables that show all the differences in one place right now, but overall I hope this video helped you out in determining those changes. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like and subscribe, and if I missed anything in the video or made a mistake, please leave a comment and I will try my best to fix it. And if you do have any questions or suggestions besides that, feel free to ask as well, but thank you all for watching and keep biking.